In this video we're going to be looking at support and resistance, what it is and how to use it for your trading purposes. So you may have heard about support and resistance and you're just not quite sure what it is or how you can use it. I was in the same place as you, but I figured it out, and I'm now going to explain to you in plain English how to use it. So listen up and let's get stuck in. What is support and resistance? It's one of the most basic elements of technical analysis, but it's something you should really get to grips with. The great thing about support and resistance is that it's simple, which makes building a basic strategy from it nice and simple and easy for beginners. So support and resistance is essentially points at which sellers are willing to enter the market to start selling the asset, or buyers are willing to enter the market to start buying the asset. A support level sits under the current price of the asset, and if price comes down near that level, for it to be support, the price would bounce up and away from that level. And oppositely, a resistance level is above the current price. So what this means is that if price is travelling up in value, it will hit that level and bounce back down in price. So if we take a quick look at a diagram just to explain that. So as we said before, we have two things, which are support and resistance. So price is coming up and down and up and down, as we'd normally see. So we have different points where price reacts from. And these are your support and resistance levels. So price is coming up here and it hits a point, so that would actually become resistance. And then price starts to come back down, and that would be support when it bounces back off that level. And then we've got resistance and support. So resistance there and support there. And that's what support and resistance is in its very basic form. It's important to note as well, though, that when support or resistance is broken, it becomes the opposite. So when support's broken, it becomes resistance, and when resistance is broken, it becomes support. So if we've had a price movement off of a point for quite some time, of resistance in this case, so we've got this resistance line here, and then price breaks it, it actually becomes then a level of support. So here it would actually become a support level. So how do we start identifying these levels of support and resistance? Let's take a look at some live charts and start seeing how I would go about doing it. So I like to use a piece of software called TradingView, and that's just a web-based piece of software, free to use. You don't even need an account to start using it. You can sign up for a free account and it lets you save the graphs that you're using here. As you can see, it's saved on my one. So what I like to do is I like to start on a high time frame. So a day is what I usually like to start on. And the reason for that is that higher time frames like daily and hourly are going to give you much stronger levels of support and resistance than those drawn on a 1 minute, a 5 minute or a 15 minute chart. That's not to say that the 1 minute and 5 minute and 15 minute charts can't work for support and resistance, it's just they're not as reliable. So once we start on the daily chart, I like to start drawing just resistance levels at round numbers. So 1, 2, 3 for example, I'd start drawing a resistance line at. So I'm using Alt H on TradingView to draw the horizontal lines, but you can come over here and go over to this icon here and click horizontal line. To change the actual price to get it accurate, so I like to go for the round numbers like I said before. When you're plotting it on the graph, it won't always go to that number, so you just literally double click on the line that you've drawn. You'll probably end up on style, but you go to coordinates and then you just put in the 1, 2, 3, 0, 0 in this case. So then I'm going to draw another line at 1, 2, 2. And let's draw another line at 1, 2, 1. Now, EURUSD is trading quite high, higher than it's done for a very long time if we go back. So it hasn't been trading this high since 2015. But the interesting thing you'll see is that we've drawn these levels, these horizontal lines at these major price points, these major round numbers. And if we go back and have a look at this, back in 2015, it actually became a level of support here. Sorry, 2014 it became a level of support. So we were coming down and we bounced off this point here. Obviously we did break through, which means it then becomes resistance, and we broke through all those lines. And this is what I mean, support and resistance isn't 100% guaranteed, but it is a useful indicator. But as we come back down, and then we come back over here, we'll probably see this become a line of resistance because it was support in the past. So look at this. So as we can see here, we peaked up to pretty much around that number in 2017 and we bounced back down again. And then we come back here, we saw a little bit of resistance again, and until we broke through, and now we're coming back down to this as a level of support on the 1-2 level. So it's important to think of support and resistance zone as zones, not as levels, so not as fixed numbers. So as you can see here, it didn't go straight to that line and bounce back off. If it did do that, it'd be a lot easier to trade these markets. So think of them as zones more than fixed points. So it would be around this area, not necessarily 100% on that area. So once you've identified those bigger levels of support, I like to then go down into a smaller time frame. So I start going down to the 4 hours. So here you can see it. I mean, it's perfect. So that number that we've put on the support, put as a support line here of 122. Look how we've bounced off of 123, and we've come back down. We've bounced off 122, back up, bounced back off 123, and we've got a nice horizontal channel going along here. Now you can say that the more times it bounces off of a point, the stronger that level becomes. But there is also another thing saying that the fourth time it's tested it's the time it's going to break through that line as well. So there's no exact science to this. It is just a way to hopefully identify where price is going to go. I then like to zoom in maybe a little bit closer and go to the hour time frame. And again, look at that. It's perfect. So it's staying within these realms quite nicely. So what I would say here is, I like to go with the trend as well, and I'm sure you've heard the trend is your friend. So to get the overall trend at the moment, we can see that we are in an uptrend. So in this instance, I probably wouldn't take any put trade, so I wouldn't be trying to sell against the price. I'd wait for price to come back down to around this level and then do a call trade. So the reason you want it to be around this level is that we've identified as a strong level of support. So we think the price is going to do what it's already done. So we think it's going to go up here, it's going to come back down here, bounce off, go back up, bounce off here, and then go back up again. But the reason we only want to take trades for a call instead of a put is simply because that's the price is going up. So at some point we're thinking that it's going to break this level of resistance that we've got here. So that's really what all there is to the support and resistance. And the thing that you must get right for this is the timing. Obviously, if I'm on an hour time frame, if I went down to the 1 minute time frame here, we'll probably see it would have breached the levels that we've reached. So here, on the hour time frame, it looked like it bounced straight off. But it actually stayed up there for almost 15 minutes, 15-20 minutes or so. It actually stayed up there for. So if you were trying to do a 1 minute binary option trade, and you thought, oh, it's come here, I'm going to put this sell trade here. The chances are you would have been wrong. You probably wouldn't have gotten in at a good point, and you would have lost your money. So this is why it's better to try and trade the higher time frames if you can, if you're following a support and resistance only. Anyway, so stick with the hour, and then what I would do for an hour time frame, I'd say, okay, well, once it reaches this point here, I'm going to give it 3 or 4 hours or so to bounce back up, because it looks like as soon as it hits it, to be honest, it looks like as soon as it hits it, it goes straight back off. But I would just give it a good 2-3 hours just to make sure that was the case. So while support and resistance levels are important tools in your trading arsenal, they're not 100% guaranteed. You should not base your entire trading strategy off support and resistance. You want to make sure you use it in conjunction with other indicators such as RSI or stochastic or even candlestick patterns. So think of yourself as a detective when you're performing technical analysis. You want to find as many reasons as possible to align with your story of what you think the price is going to do. The more reasons you can give yourself, the more confident you can be in your trade. So again, while support and resistance is great, you need to remember that at some point those levels will be broken. So support and resistance on lower time frames can also be broken temporarily. So it's important to get the binary option expiry times more accurate, which is what I showed you before when I went down to the minute time frame. So this is why it's usually better with support and resistance to operate on higher time frames and also have the longer term binary trades. So that's the basis to support and resistance, and if you have any questions at all, please feel free to post them in the comments section below. And if you'd like to check out the 49 candlestick patterns identified 100% for free to assist you with your support and resistance training, then you can grab the PDF from the following link, 49patterns.tips.ninja. Or you can just grab it from the link below in the description. Try to match those reversal patterns in with the support and resistance, and you could potentially start creating a winning strategy. So remember guys, if you enjoyed the video, comment and subscribe below. I'll be putting out more and more content daily.